Greetings, citizens. I just wanted to give you my update on thoughts about the 2.5J PTU patch. I know I haven't been giving as many updates as the previous one. That's because of work-related issues. I've mentioned that in other videos. But let's go ahead and discuss some of the things I'm seeing here. The primary problem that 2.5J is having, in fact all the previous ones for the most part, is there's massive desyncing issues that we're seeing. Now I'm going to have some combat clips further along the ways. Now when you watch, the enemies can be launching missiles at me, and you'll see how they zigzag because they're not in sync. Now, oh yeah, I was to show you this too. That's a size 5 bearing Starfarer turret cannon attached to the underside of a Vanguard, and it pretty much syncs up for the most part with those 4 size 2s as well. I tell you what, that is a really, really sexy loadout. That will kill very quickly. I'm really thinking I'm going to be using that in the persistent universe with the ship. It doesn't match color wise, but damn, it hits like a hammer. So anyway, as we go into the ship here, you're going to notice a change to the way the HUD is, especially if you own a Vanguard or flown it before. You're going to notice that they're starting to iterate more on using the actual screens on your cockpit. You're not going to see, if the cockpit will draw back in here, there's another little bug. You're not going to see as much information on the helmet display, and you're going to see most of it is going to be tied to your actual screens. Now, some people have been complaining about this, and I think it has mostly to do with the fact that the screens are so small and they are actually kind of hard to read. It seems to me that they need to bring those screens closer to the player or whatnot. They need to be very, very clean, very easy to see just at a glance. But yeah, they're more going to be start using these more as the primary, it looks like. So anyway, I had some of the problems I had right now. If you have a Xeon Scout, which I melted down because I got tired of all the quirkiness of it. I used it to use it as an LTI token for a Constellation Andromeda, which was the first ship I ever backed. I never had an LTI, so I do now. The ship would only turn to the left, and it would only turn down. So the only thing you could do for the most part was spin. And as far as I know, it's still that way. And so I hope they get that fixed as well. Otherwise, those of you who own a Xeon Scout are going to be in for a very unpleasant surprise when it launches. Alright, let's go ahead and take a look at the combat here, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Oh, so watch very closely these missiles, because they are literally going to be doing some wacky ass crap. Now, as far as Grim Hex goes, the frame rate has been across the game. It's been pretty good. Grim Hex's frame rate is pretty good. I think the main problem still we're facing once again is the netcode. It's the bottlenecking. See, as far as I understand it, the CryEngine has a limitation that it will lower the frame rates for everybody. They see the missiles right there doing that thing. Watch that right there. Yeah, see that jagged kind of crap? Anyway, so if everyone has a netcode or receives transmissions, and they're basically, let's say that the slowest person is running at 17 frames a second because of their connection or what the netcode says or whatever, then everyone is going to be getting about 17 frames a second at best. So it's a situation where the frame rate on the CryEngine gets tied to the actual transmission for the data, and it's kind of wacky. Oh yeah, here's another error. You can see the missile indicators. They don't go away. You don't know if you actually have a missile on you or not without checking the radar, because these will just keep stacking. So that's another thing they need to fix as well. So anyway, so that's why we're looking forward to that new 3.0 netcode, which was, of course, supposed to be 2.7. But anyway, we're going to talk about that tomorrow on the Blastcast. Hopefully, if we can get it out in time. And yeah, here actually I rammed that ship. Now you'll notice my ship just didn't explode. In fact, I didn't even take any damage because I had enough shields. One of the things that they've done with this this whole 2.5 experience is that physical contact, ramming, hitting an asteroid, whatever, has less catastrophic effects on your ship. So in that regard, since the AI does like to ram, it's not as fatal as it was before. In fact, when I was flying yesterday, the front of my ship looked extremely bashed in, and I actually had these struts on the left and right hand side, as you see on the screen here. The cockpit actually looked like they were on fire. They were glowing red and on the outside of the ship, there were actually it was kind of mashed in the front, but I didn't lose any weaponry or anything like that. So that's another great thing about this, is that it seems that for when you hit, you often lose a bunch of weaponry, you lose a bunch of parts. Since that doesn't happen as catastrophically, you're less likely to lose your weapons and things like that. So anyway, yeah, guys, I just wanted to go ahead and give you my thoughts on it. Will it possibly come out soon? You know, really the only, besides the Xeon Scout issue, the primary issue that could keep this from being playable is that netcode. He did mention that in the Gamescom presentation. He said there's these massive dips that are occurring in frame rates, and he's absolutely right. But I don't think CIG can get around that issue, just generally speaking, until they get a whole new netcode. So anyway, guys, just wanted to give you an update, and thanks for watching. Catch you next time. Today on the Blastcast, we discussed the Hornet revamp, Gamescom just a few hours away, some No Man's Sky stuff because why not, and some other miscellaneous. Today on the Blastcast.